So let's take a look at cell division, some examples, and key information you're going to need to know. Let's take a look at some examples that will help you get an idea of how cell division takes place and why it is important. When you think about it, we all started out as simple cells, both egg and sperm cells, and as they joined, they became more complex to form the organism that we are today. How that happened was, as those cells joined, they began to split, and subsequently each one of those new cells that was replicated through that division began to divide and divide and divide until millions and then later billions and trillions of cells were used to form us. As we formed, those cell divisions were used to help us grow, age, and develop. This lasts throughout our entire lifespan as we continually create new cells to help us maintain our body functions and survive in general. It's also important to remember some other things. Remember that cells don't last forever, and oftentimes they need to replace themselves. So looking at the GIF here, if you think about a time you had a sunburn and you had to peel your skin, in order for that new skin to come in, each one of those cells had to replicate itself so that you could peel off the old skin and begin anew and have that fresh layer underneath. This is how all things in life are possible. It's how our hair grows, it's how our nails grow, it's how we grow individually as we move from childhood to adulthood, and as we ultimately move on to reproduce ourselves. So, looking at some notes you can take, it's important to remember that the survival of organisms relies on the development of new cells. It's also important to remember that each cell does not last forever, so there needs to be a process for creating new cells, and that process is cell division. And the reason cells divide is for the purposes of growth, renewal, and reproduction. So cells help you grow. Cells also need to help renew themselves. So when we're looking at, skin peeling, hair growing, individuals growing in general, it's for those purposes and ultimately reproducing either new cells or creating our own offspring. Finally, existing cells duplicate their DNA so that they can create those new cells and then divide into new identical cells.